Sure. So clearly there was some sophisticated people on this board. And Wall Street Bets, at the time that my book begins, had just over 1 million members, which is a lot. But that made it, I mean, a lot of people are members of lots of different subreddits on Reddit. So it was maybe the 70th or 80th most belonged to subreddit, not off the charts. It rose to about 2 million at the beginning of the sort of the real main show, and then today it's about 11 million. It quadrupled in a span of a few weeks during this time. And in the run up to this episode, clearly some people were on there who were pretty sophisticated, and they said, hey, you guys, I see you want to put a short squeeze on this. Here's how to do it. Here's how to get the maximum bang for the buck. And what they pointed out was that instead of buying the stock and then holding it, having diamond hands, which means not selling, not having paper hands, but holding on, not selling no matter what, so that there is not stock available to repurchase by the short sellers when the squeeze happens, what they said is like, you should buy short-dated out-of-the-money options. And an option is basically a contract to buy or sell, a call or a put, some instrument at a future date at a certain price. If you buy a call option on a stock that is out of the money, so if you exercise it today, you wouldn't get anything because the price is above where it trades today, but you're just hoping it'll get there, and you buy one that doesn't have much time left to expire, then you only have to pay pennies for it because the odds of you making any money off of it are tiny. And so you're like it. It's like insuring against a meteorite hitting your house. You could buy insurance for that maybe, but it's probably not going to happen, right? And so that you're buying insurance into a low probability event. Or the analogy that I use in the book is an earthquake. But this is a different kind of insurance because as the earth begins to rumble, as there's some seismic activity, the insurer can say, uh-oh, okay, there might actually be an earthquake. This guy might be right. Let's buy reinsurance in the market. Let's insure ourselves against this happening. And that's what options dealers do. So they'll sell you this contract, but they're not just going to leave it there because they're taking infinite risk. If let's say a stock is at $10 and you buy an options contract allowing you to buy it next month at $15, it's probably not going to go to $15. But what if it does? What if it starts to rise? What if people start buying it? What if something strange is happening in the market? Then the options dealer is at risk because what if it goes to $100? Then the options dealer is going to be bankrupt because they sold you this thing for 2 cents and they have to, basically give you something worth $85, right? So you can make such a huge multiple of what you paid them that the premium, the insurance premium basically that you paid them it doesn't come close to covering it. So they don't just sit on their hands, they start to buy the stock. And there's a formula that dictates how much of the stock they have to buy. And it's called delta. So basically for every dollar rise in a stock, how much of the stock do they have to purchase in order to hedge themselves? They don't want to take any risk. They just want to facilitate the transaction and scalp a little bit of premium off of you. So they don't care which way the stock is going. They're going to buy it because they sold the option. And there's a Greek letter that denotes the accelerating rate at which they have to purchase those stocks. It's called alpha. So the delta is how much they have to buy per dollar, and the alpha is how much that delta goes up as you get closer in time and price. And that is called an alpha squeeze because when a lot of people are short a stock, you can induce something called an alpha squeeze. A gamma squeeze, not a alpha squeeze, a gamma squeeze. I'm getting my Greek letters mixed up. A gamma squeeze, delta and gamma. And a gamma squeeze, people have tried to do it before. It's not like people don't know about it. As a matter of fact, a very, very deep-pocketed investor enacted a gamma squeeze during the summer of 2020, Masayoshi Son. He owned a bunch of stocks and tech companies, and then he bought options in them simultaneously. Nobody knew who he was. People didn't make the connection until months after he had started to do it. But he succeeded in driving the share prices of these big tech companies up a lot. Now, if he could do it for those big, widely traded tech companies, then how hard would it be for a company like GameStop that's a small company that's not traded a lot? Well, not that hard at all, it turns out. And there was a wave of options buying in GameStop and the other meme stocks in order to drive them to the moon. And it was, in terms of bang for the buck, it was a much more effective technique than purchasing the stock itself. And remember, these are people with not a lot of money. It's lots of people, but all with small accounts. And so, yeah, and then a lot of the people who bought the options actually did quite well for themselves financially because they paid pennies and they actually sold the options or the options expired in the money and they made multiples of their bet. But lots of people just saw their premium go away. And attempts at a gamma squeeze have continued since this, by the way. And so that's the thing that's most surprising to me is that since I got the contract to write this book and sat down and spent every evening and weekend and vacation writing the book, and I thought I'd be writing about something of kind of an amazing episode of historical interest, it has continued. And people have attempted it again and again. But it's hard to do it a second time, and it's really hard to do it a fifth time. And that's kind of what they've attempted to do.